Hi, this is a Conversations with Creatives podcast for Opus. Spring is in full bloom, and we're currently exploring the theme Conversations with Nature. This episode is all about art in the garden. From a homegrown oasis to the public park, gardens provide the lifeblood to both private lives and local communities. As artists, we respond in all sorts of ways to these important sources of relaxation, leisure, and creative inspiration, visually, emotionally, intellectually, and aesthetically. My guests today are Marney-Rose Edge, Ken Clarke, Paula Barrantes, and Anais Lera. Painting plein air or integrating organic sculptures into the landscape, travelling back to the gardens of childhood, or imagining their own intricate ecosystems. Each of them employs a unique approach to art in the garden. Marney-Rose Edge is a Vancouver-based artist with a passion for flowers. A keen gardener herself, Marney-Rose's work is anchored in the fragility of nature. She is also a popular and well-respected teacher and juror, sharing her extensive knowledge with students and peers across Canada.
My name is Marney-Rose Edge. We don't get gorgeous flowers all year round. So to be able to capture them and paint them is just, there's so much emotion that flows through me into the paintings. It's the color, the light. I use my camera as a digital sketchbook more than, and I use a sketchbook for actually planning out paintings. So it's capturing those moments that just give me goosebumps, and you get that little, I don't know, there's something in your tummy that is exciting, and it really happens. I visit a lot of the gardens around my neighborhood, and any opportunity when I'm out driving, I will pull up and take photos of other people's gardens, and it's just something that strikes so to my core that I have to capture it and paint it. And then there's city gardens as well, so it is me. It's I love digging in the dirt too, so the garden that I started with was a blank canvas, and I see it as that, and putting color combinations together is very key. It reminds me of painting on a canvas because nature is the best at putting color combinations together. I work in a complementary color scheme most of the time, and nature is just a natural painter. We can take so many clues from nature. It's just astounding. I did a lot of drawing as a kid, and I just loved being in the garden with my mum because she could grow anything. So I was hugely influenced by her when it came to gardening and growing things. And she grew a lot of food as well. I started painting in my 40s and just found such a passion for it that I never knew it was asleep. It had really been asleep, and it got woken up, and it was like I was obsessed. And somebody introduced me into painting with watercolor, and I fell in love with it, and it fell in love with me. I didn't have the problems that a lot of people report with it. And really, a medium, we tend to try out all different mediums to see which one really suits our personality, and even genre, whether we draw or whether we're abstract. Our best work comes out in which really suits us. And flowers were my first thing because of the garden connection, and that beauty and the light, because there's so much translucency, and I just love that. It's that feel that I get with painting flowers that it really goes hand in hand. To be able to walk through and take that deep breath and inhale the perfume from a natural flower is just intoxicating. I have peonies in amongst the roses, and hyacinths are out at the moment. And it's like, I drive up the driveway and I just stop and take a breath. It's like, all the stress of the day just falls away when you breathe in that fragrance. So it plays a huge, important role for me to have that immediacy of being out in the open and being in the garden and amongst these wonderful flowers and being able to capture those colors. That's how I'm treating plein air more, because plein air painting is actually quite challenging because you've got all this. How do you narrow it down? What do you do? It's like, oh, it's overwhelming, right? If you've only got your cell phone, you can at least, you can take a photo and turn on a little grid pattern in it so that you can see where your focal point is. I mean, it's really good to have as an option on the fly to be able to use the editing tools within your phone. Focus in on what really grabs you, and if it's a variety of flowers, like some poppies will be coming up, and the different colors. So you might want to take a larger picture that you can then crop down into smaller pictures if you want to, but take many photos in different directions so that you can have more information. The more information, the better off you are, and you can zoom in, you can get closer to flowers and then pull back and see, you get some leaves so that you can put more information within your painting as well. There's, you may change your angle by 1 foot will make a difference on the perspective of what you're looking at. So this is, again, it's just another way of creating more information for you that you can then create more paintings from it if you want. Whenever I'm driving anywhere, I'm always looking at the gardens to see if there's something. And even, I love winter in one respect for the naked trees. It's always keeping an eye out about what is interesting, what's intriguing about this, what really can you say with it as well. Because just having a tree that has a very twisty trunk in amongst a very quiet background says a lot. So it's not only about the flowers, it's nature, period.
Known for his figurative work, grotesque faces, water and architectural features, Ken Clarke is a sculptor whose large-scale organic creations take pride place in many private and public gardens around BC, including Van Dusen. Always amazed by what nature has created through erosion and time, Ken explores natural forms and conveys the essence of that process.
I'm Ken Clarke. I work in Vancouver. I'm a sculptor, and I was doing a lot of figurative work, but now I seem to be going into more using organic forms and working from nature. I was using willow, but I thought I'd move on to some other materials. But willow was quite nice to work with. I really enjoyed it. Just working from nature and learning how to harvest and understanding where it comes from and all that. Well, I think I enjoy the harvesting more than the making, actually. Just searching it out and getting out there in nature and looking for it and understanding how it grows and where it is and what it can do. The second last piece I did was during COVID, and it's a hollow tree, and it's the pieces of wood that I found, which are branches from old trees. I incorporated them into the piece, just talking about branches growing to the center of the tree and how it rots away, and just that story behind the tree, how it evolves and grows. And the last piece I'm doing right now is 2 figures. It's basically sewing itself, weaving itself together, and weaving the earth. And what I want to do eventually is have it sew out with a plant growing out of the top of it. I don't know. I just had this idea that it'd be kind of neat to have two figures weaving themselves together and weaving the earth. I'm starting to make water features and stuff like that, waterfalls, because I really enjoy getting out into nature and to see these things. You know, nature is just incredible what it does. It's time. And so the last one I'm doing is inspired by a canyon that I saw in Fernie on Coal River. And I always thought that it'd be nice to see it in a place where the little kids are, you know, or a kids hospital or an old folks home or something like that, so that people could just enjoy just that, you know, because they can't go there, they can at least experience it on a smaller scale. My partner is right now she's planting around the studio spaces. I'm just renting a space here, but we've got some space to plant, so it's really nice to play around with that and to incorporate the plants in and around pieces that I'm making. And I guess what I see, because I do a lot of hiking, and I find when I go into nature, it makes me laugh because I see what it does. It's time and how the roots grow around rocks and the way this tree does this and one's twisting this way. And it just it really inspires me, just the shapes. And the same with, if you want to, I'm going to shift a little, but the same with the rock formations on the sandstone on the Gulf Islands. They really inspire me to play with form and gives me a whole other area to work from. I've reached a point where I feel very uncomfortable taking anything out of nature, and I won't take anything out anymore. So I'm going to work with what I have, and that's it. I've used up enough because I'd really like to see things left in nature and let it do its thing. So what I really enjoy, at least with the space where my studio is, it's right downtown, and it's a really tough area. There's just a lot of different things going on, and I'm finding it's so nice when you get somebody that just stops and smiles or I don't know, just sees the garden and sees things growing, and it kind of makes them, I don't know, if it makes their day a little better, that's great. So I guess that's what a garden does too. Just makes you feel good. It's kind of nice when you can create something that even just one person that helps them feel better or does something for them, keeps them going. It just amazes me what nature can do for us or creates, and that's inspiring. I don't really assess what I'm doing, really. I just make things and just like making them and enjoy hiking and seeing nature, and yeah, this is just what I'm doing. I'm the wrong person probably to get wordy about things. I just like making it. I did a large piece, actually in art school way back. Her name was Carmen. She's an amazing opera singer, actually. But I did a sculpture of her. There's two of them, actually, casts. And they both ended up on Hornby Island. One, a client bought it to put in their garden. But the other one, she's very strong, and she looks out, seated pose, and she's looking out to the ocean. And it was supposedly the owner of the place said that there's a girl, one of her kids that come by was sitting there talking to the sculpture. And I thought that was so sweet, right? Like she's just like, because she's a powerful, like the type of sculpture that as a figurative piece that really shows strength and just all the, I don't know, beautiful attributes that we have. And I just, yeah, that was kind of neat. It had an effect like that. And it was looking out onto the ocean.
Paula Barrantes is a watercolorist and muralist specializing in botanical art, which allows her to feed a curiosity for the natural world and share her love for it with others. Whether depicting cuttings from a garden or interpreting the overgrown patios of her native Costa Rica, Paula's art is about the joy of being surrounded by nature.
I'm Paula Barrantes. I'm a watercolor and mural artist here in Vancouver. My passion is painting nature, specifically botanical art. I grew up in Costa Rica in a small town surrounded by lots of green, coffee plantations, and lush gardens. But our gardens are in Latin America are not intensely manicured. They're like dense and chaotic, but with lots of color and texture. And they're often saturated with upcycled cans and pots as well. So during the past 2 years, I've been focusing on a series that were inspired by a trip to Costa Rica to visit my family. And I found sour cream pots and garbanzo bean cans and water jugs cut in half, holding the most beautiful orchids and bromeliads, begonias, anything with flowers. And I found this very interesting, and yeah, it gave me lots of childhood memories. We call these home gardens patios. It's a little different to what we think of a patio here in North America, at least. It has this mixture of bare concrete and some grass and soil, and they are usually in front of the house. So this makes like watering and tending the plants very easily. But then it's also a way that neighbors connect with each other because they get to see the types of plants that you have. And they will stop and knock on your door and ask you how to care for them and if they can have a cutting to take with them home. This is the way I grew up, seeing my grandma interact with people and my parents as well. And so basically all these memories, and during this trip, while I got to see all these things that were so normal for me back when I was a child, I realized there was so many layers of culture that were so inspirational, and I had to use it as my subject later on. I started sketching there. I was there for a month. So I got to sketch from life, which I think is the best. I enjoy that the most because I get to observe every detail, every vein, every fold of the plant, the colors, everything changes. Then obviously I could not take them with me, so I had to take photographs. And when I came home, I worked from those photographs. But those initial sketches were the base for the work. And now I paint from my plants at home as well. I have a 1-year-old daughter. So life has changed a lot. And during this past year, walks are our everyday thing, right? So what I do is I take her to public gardens, and those are the ones that inspire my paintings now. I bring pencil and paper, and I can barely get 5 minutes where she's calm. But I get to sketch, and I just sharing this moment with her. It's very peaceful, and I love it because it's the same connection that I had with my grandma and my dad, and now I get to share with her. You gotta be quick. I love watercolors for that reason. You can go fast and just bring a very small kit with you with a few pans in it. And I usually carry water in a bottle. So I just like dab a little bit in my can and then just like from there just sketch really, really fast. And then you can go home and then get very detailed and spend months of hours in it, right? I think it's that connection with nature and the sense of calmness. It's almost like meditation to me. I enjoy the most when people connect to my paintings because it reminds them of something. And that means to me that I guess the painting has succeeded in some way. I feel like it's like a feeling of like an oasis in the middle of the city when you find that respire, that tranquility. Patio gardens or public gardens are these spaces that people seek for relaxation. And I guess for my grandma, it was that antidote to industrialization and, the whole concentration of cities in a small town. But for me, it was to create that connection with her, and then to find this sense of sanctuary, I guess. And then it became an inspiration. And then now it's like kind of my muse. We all need that connection with nature in order to find that center. And I don't know, it's kind of like regrouping with yourself. It's too chaotic right now, especially with COVID and the war and so many other things going on right now. We need green and we need that breeze and we need some of that rain. Sometimes I paint plants that are very common and not as glorious as a rose. I love Patios for that reason. It can grow anywhere. It can survive for weeks without water. It's very easy to care for it. It's very hardy. It can grow as an air plant. It can grow on soil. And I love when people get to connect to plants. They are so common that maybe we see and we do not like give so much importance. But then, you know, also I love to paint flowers and the usual carnations and dahlias and hydrangeas. I think they're all beautiful in every way. It doesn't matter if it's lots of color or just variations of green. The paintings that I've done that come from being in the forest tend to be more botanical art, a bit more scientific. And then the ones that are coming from a garden usually have a sense of more emotional feeling. It has this layer of more sentiment rather than the scientific. When I'm in the forest, I get the feeling that I need to document it almost, instead of me putting myself in the painting.
Anais Lera is a French mural artist and painter, currently living and working in Vancouver. Inspired by the beauty of nature, her immersive work weaves together luxuriant and colourful composition with meticulous design. Akin to a gardener, she creates intricate imagined ecosystems exploding with vibrant flora and fauna.
So I'm Anais Lera, and I do work that is mainly inspired by nature. It's very graphic, so I'm just following graphic envy that I have. So fluidity, pattern, a very bright color, and I'm just creating my own universe. When you are in front of a garden as an artist, generally, it's even hard to manage to catch up everything. So you have to go back again and again. And sometimes for me, when I look at it, I just have so many information and I just would like to put them all in one piece, but it's just impossible. There is too many. So I have to choose. And that's also the big part of the process, is choosing what you're going to pick up from this garden and what is going to be good together. And that's funny because basically in a garden, I feel you can put so many different things and it will always look good. But as an artist, you have to choose more, I think, to make it look good together and do a nice composition. And if you put too much, you lose the information. If you don't put enough, it became boring. So you have to find this right balance of making the shape and the colors and all this fitting together. And in the garden, you have this all together and it's just perfect. I mean, I guess gardener won't say it. They probably put a big amount of work of finding the perfect thing that goes together. But to me, from outside, it's perfect, whatever. I think I was really influenced when I lived in Australia for 2 years. All those crazy, colorful, very flashy colors of flowers that you don't really see necessarily in Europe. And yeah, that was definitely the big start for me with all my influences, was this country and the life that I had there and all the beauty that I saw there. I don't really like being too much. When I'm in nature, I'm in nature. I don't like to be too much behind my phone, taking picture and behind of a screen. So I just get the feeling of it. And I don't really consider myself as an illustrator because I don't try to illustrate what I see. I just try to capture what I feel when I see it, which is maybe a little switch that make my work not technically, not really illustration. So I'm really, the process is I play a lot with pattern, repetition, movement in my drawing with my style. And I think the fact that I focus more on this than trying to reproduce exactly what I'm seeing makes maybe the work more like a feel. So if I'm drawing a flower, for example, I will just be focused on creating the movement and the repetition of the petal, more than trying to reproduce this exact flower that I have in front of me. Right now, I'm definitely focusing on painting those mix of floral elements and ocean elements that create this garden, but that's imaginary garden. I like the idea of when you see a piece of art, an artwork, I like the idea of people can dive in and they're going to be surrounded mentally by all those elements. And that's definitely what a garden is as well. You are inside it. I would love one day to be able to create a piece that actually physically surrounding people. That would be just amazing. And I feel with mural, you kind of touch this a little bit because it's something that is really living with the space and people are going inside, like physically somehow. When you look at a piece on paper, you go inside just with the eyes. When you see a mural, you're going inside physically. I love this idea. So somehow you kind of get closer to a garden. I mean, that's human to create something that's imaginative. You don't necessarily to create something that is already existing. It's already perfect the way it is. So I think it's much more fun or interesting to create something new. I don't think you ever create something 100% new because you always have so many influences and it's also kind of impossible if you really be honest. But you can try. And that's the beauty of it. You can try. Yeah.
If you'd like to join in on the conversation with nature, be sure to check out the gallery on our website, opusartsupplies.com. To submit your work, head over to @opusartsupplies on Instagram and use the hashtag #OpusWithNature alongside a great caption for your chance to win a $50 Opus gift card and be featured in an Opus article on social media and email. I'd like to thank Marney-Rose, Ken, Paula, and Anais for chatting with me, and of course, all of you for tuning in. Join us next month as we kick off the Opus Outdoor Painting Challenge and discuss communicating landscapes in plein air. Till then, thanks for listening.